Hello, this is Drew Richardson. Just wanted to talk to you a little bit about something I have to keep an eye on near the end of the season. A lot of times we like to show the dropped races before the end of the season actually occurs. So one of the things I just wanted to show you was how I actually managed that was in the it's under the classes, edit classes. You go over here and you can see that all of these classes, stretch it out a little bit, races counted for points. That would be this guy, number of races counted for points. So if you have done 8 races and you want to show 2 drops, then you'll say that there's only 6 races counted for points, right? But at the end of the year, we need to show that there's 10 races counted for points. So right now, I'm fixing this up for just before we're posting round 12. So right now we've got it at 9 races counted for points. Not all the classes get counted for points, but we are going to go ahead and you can edit this manually one at a time like this. Put it to 10 for each of these classes. This is kind of the way that Moto Tally is meant to work. You put it like this. You have to hit save on every single one. You cannot select multiple classes. If you select multiple classes here and try to edit, well, I guess there's no okay, edit classes. You will really screw some stuff up because everything that you edit will update. It'll change the name of all these classes to all be exactly the same. It'll change everything about these classes to be exactly the same if you edit multiple classes. So you don't want to do that. It's not a very good option, really, unless you're just setting up a season from scratch. So I just updated a couple here, but I want to show you real quick one of the ways that I handle this a little bit faster with Access. If Access has gone away in 2019, then this won't be a thing. But I'm going to go in here. I'm going to create a query. I'm going to come in here. There's all these tables over here, but the one thing that we're looking for is classes, right? So classes. We're going to now this is a little bit beyond the basics, right? So I showed you how to do the basics. This is just if you care to try it another way. Okay, so EID or EY is the year. We're going to put 2018 and we're going to put every races count for points. Everywhere that it is 9, we're going to go ahead and query on this. Yeah. So star means return everything. We're just going to show all the classes in 2018 that have 9 races counted for points. And I just want to change. I'm going to change this. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm just going to change this to an update query. That changes the query type when you hit that. And so now criteria is still 2018, 9 races counted for points. But see, this changed to update 2. And you can put 10 here. Update, run. I said run. Wait, no, run. Oh, enable content. You gotta do that. No, I don't want to save changes. Oh, crap. Got rid of it. So let's do it again real quick. Create, query design, classes. We're going to do an update we need to make sure that we're only updating 2018, and we're only going to update where it currently has 9, because like Trail Rider and some of the other classes don't have anything counted. And we're going to make sure where it says 9, we're going to update it to, that's this line right here, we're going to update it to 10. Let's try it again. Run, 52 rows. Okay, so now if I go back to OCCRA, class management, classes, edit classes, we see we saved a lot of freaking time by using a query to update those. You can do it manually, like I said. I'm going to try to show you both ways. Okay, so that's just that one little thing. Another thing, at the end of the year, you're going to want to make sure that you manage the, here we go, rider management, fix duplicate riders. That's one of the things you really need to be kind of managing all year long. But the idea is that people come, they sign up, then either scoring doesn't recognize they've already been a member before, or maybe their name's just slightly different or whatever. You know, maybe they don't bring their helmet to scan. Which this is the number one reason why we have them scan their helmets, so we don't create duplicate riders. But we've got somebody like this that looks like they've got the same birthday, same phone number, you know, so it looks like real similar email address. I'm gonna kind of pick, you know, the rider ID. The higher the number, the more recent that rider was created. You can see they're different cities here, but I'm gonna go, their address looks blank on both of them. I'm gonna go with the one that I feel like has the best email address, because see, this one's missing an A on the Yahoo. So I'm gonna say, well, move from this bottom one, I'm gonna move it to the top one. So it's gonna take on all the fields and all the classifications of the bottom one right here. So this would be A and this would be B, and we're gonna compare. Oops. So we can see that in 2015 they raced quad int as the A, and then we're going to move them to B, which is in here in darker color in 2016. So you can see that by A right here, they raced the quad int, and then they came back 2016. Someone created a new rider for them. You know, this kind of little stuff, it kind of messes up. So I'm gonna lean towards, yeah, if you really wanted to fix all this, you could go in and, you know, try to find out what their actual address is and all this stuff. But I'm gonna focus on which one has the best email address, because that's what we do racecasts on nowadays, and that's what we do end of the year awards on. So I'm gonna go combine racers. This is telling you it's irreversible. So you want to make sure that you are actually combining two people that truly are the same person. Now, example I will tell you about Bill Walker. There's multiple Bill Walkers, and they're actually different people, and it's very hard to tell that they're not the same person, but they are, and they're two older guys that race real similar class, but they're different people. So you got to be a little bit, you know, cautious about that. But the reason why you want to do this is so if for some crazy reason that a person will enter a class under one of their rider IDs, and then in the same year enter a class in a different rider ID, they won't get accumulated points from both of those IDs. So once you combine their riders here in their rider ID, then they can accumulate points all the way across the series. Okay, so I'm not going to walk you through all these others. but that's just one of the steps you got to do at the end of the year. Okay, so next end of the year step, one of the things, okay, so we just completed, here's where we're at. We just completed Fry Lake, which is around 12. The first thing that we need to do really is we need to figure out how many riders didn't do half the laps of the leader. That's the first thing I always, well, actually the first thing I always do is, you can see that this pulls up the Sundog here, SDT, because that is because somebody didn't update the abbreviation. So I'm going to go show you how to do that real quick. Events. And this says Fry Lake 2, but the abbreviation is still Sundog. So we're just going to make it FL2, okay? Oh, shoot. 2. Save. Close. Close. Bring that back. FL2 right here, okay? This is one of the things I do. Exclude trail riders from points. It takes them out of the overall so that they're not jacking with people's overalls. It's not necessarily written in the rule book that has to apply, but that's one of the things we started doing, particularly when we saw fast A riders entering in the B race, which we don't allow anymore. So it's not big a problem anymore, but it's just one of the queries that I have set up to do. And this is the big one, that rider DNF half the laps of the leader. This is an OCCRA specific rule that says they have to get half the laps of the leader of their class, or else they only get 3 points. Now the problem is it's like a step function, where if the leader does 7 laps, they only need to do 6, so that's not exactly half, but it rounds up, if you will. So it's a step function that you can do 3 laps and still get credit for if the leader does 7. If the leader does 3 and you only do 1, well, you still get credit. So this query, it's running down here. You can tell right here. Takes a little bit of time. Now I want to show you real quick how you can do this manually. It's a pain in the butt. Before we came up with the query, pain in the butt, but you gotta go in and you really gotta you can go to results and you gotta go in class by class for every person, every class, and figure out, okay, there was 4 laps here. This guy, Wyatt Blair, should not get points. You gotta write that down, and then you gotta go in and you gotta go to circuit management. After, of course, you calculate all your points, you do all your points. You gotta go to circuit management and or point standing, extra manual points, and you gotta go to where was that kid? He was he mini quad X? Shit. Where was he? That kid actually may not have even ever done a race. Okay, mini quad A. Oh, so that was his first time doing a mini quad A, so he hadn't got any points in there. So it's not going to be a big deal for him. But if okay, so back on Access, if you did run that query using the my tools, it's going to tell you how many riders didn't do half the laps of the leader based on the step function mathematics. And then this is if you have to run it again later in the year, it's going to delete the old people that and then basically run it again, right? So then it's about to append 10 rows, and then this is just a reminder there. You need to go in and total the year into points after you do this. So another thing I do is the race gas. Riders entered in the race. Yep. So this automatically loads this into my race gas folder in the motor tally folder. So it should be labeled round 2018 round 12 race gas. The contingency folks need that. I also like to run this, but race gas changed the rules and it's not necessary anymore. But this will tell you the new members that were added this race. People that had never been a member prior signed up to be a member, which is, it's really funny at the end of the year, even though we're doing temp memberships, there will be people that sign up to be a member for the first time. It's kind of cool. Looks like they're kind of all over. Quentin Cranford, how about that? So that you don't need to send to Rocky Mountain. They don't take that anymore. But okay, so then the next step. So what we did was we took half the laps of the leader. Now I need to show you how to do it manually, right? So you got the person's name. You went in there to if you go to circuit management, points, extra manual points. And I know that this kid was right, that makes sense. He didn't do he did this race. I'm just showing you, like, you can switch races that you're looking at, but this kid's not a good example. But the idea is that, okay, I'm just gonna go to back to Friday. We'll just say, for example, we'll just say, okay, so Brenner Timmerman, he didn't finish the race. He only did 1 lap and the rest of them did 6 laps, right? So we're going to say that he needs minus 15 extra points to put him down to 3. And so you got to go through there. You got to first find all the people that didn't get half the laps, and then go in here and do the extra points, and then put minus points in there. And once you hit done, part of it is you go to the point standings, and once you total points again, it'll take their points away. Okay, so I'm just gonna I need to put him back to normal. Oops, wrong one. But actually, back to Brenner. He can get full point. I didn't actually look at his race, but I'm assuming he gets full points, right? So this is kind of a pain. One of the things you need to watch out for, especially if you're doing this early on in the season, is if a rider is moved out. Okay, going back to that example with, okay, so let's say XE2, right? we'll we'll look at somebody like Mason, right? Mason, he's showing up 0 points here, but that's because he moved out of the class. If let's see how to say this, but if if Mason moved out of the class and Mel Platt didn't finish the race, so he would have got like a minus 13 here. But originally, early on in the season, he would have gotten 15 points instead of 16 because Mason Morris was in there. And so since Mason moved out of the class, it changed how many points Mel Platt got. And so you have to go back at the end of the season and double check all these people throughout the whole year and make sure that nobody in front of them moved out of the class and gave them extra points. And then the easiest way to check I found that I like to do is you go to Motally, you go to standings, point standings, and you go just one class at a time, and you make sure that nobody says something besides 3. Like, you don't want to see 4, you don't want to see 2, you don't want to see anything besides 3 on the ones that obviously didn't finish the race. You don't want to see, it's kind of hard to tell, but you want to see those 3s out there that mean that the math all checks out, even after people have left the class, So that's just kind of the only easy way I know to check that. So other than that, if access is still available in 2019, you can go through here, change the class to one run. You can do rider DNF, half laps a leader, and you can do it on every single one, and it will go through and recalculate and delete their old point adjustments and add them a new point adjustment after all the bumps have happened. But that may not be available next year. So okay, so back on points. Next thing I need to do is, so we just had a race. We just did half laps a leader. One of the things you should always really do after each race, you really need to go into the results, and you really need to check. If you go to modify, check raw times, you can go in here to these lap warnings, and you can go short laps, long laps. These are kind of a nice way for the system to double check you that you didn't accidentally not score somebody or something like that. Let's just go to the A's real quick. But you really gotta do this on every single race. You want to go modify check, and then you go over here, short laps. There's a few people with some short laps. Like, is 12-minute lap time, is that even feasible? Well, it came from Mason Smith. Maybe that is feasible. He's a AA pro, But how about this guy? He had a 13:38 and he's over 60. But you know what? It's Dave Campbell and he owns that land. So you got to kind of use some common sense here. Now you look at the long laps, and if somebody has a lap time that is like double their median time, then it might be that we missed scoring their lap time, and you need to double check the hand score. So something to check out, something to look for. But if you make any changes anywhere in all this, you need to calculate places, and I like to always hit all races here and then calculate places, so it gets it for everyone. If you make any penalties or anything, you have to calculate places to make it apply. And then after you calculate places, you go in here, point standing. Make sure the right race is selected here, 12, and so round 12, and we're going to calculate points for selected event. Okay, total points. Always takes a little bit. You always need to check the event that you're looking at, because if you switch it over here, it can affect what pulls up here, and you want to make sure the best way to know that you're doing what you think you're doing is to have it say the same event here as it says here. I think it might be a little bit of a motor tally bug, but you want to make sure you're operating on the same race. If you have to go back in time and operate on earlier races, go ahead and change it here and change it here. Seems like it's still trying to do some calculations here. Alright, so we know that mini quad X guy didn't finish. Yeah, so he got 20 minus 17. But see what he did is see, the little dot means that he transferred in that point, that those 22 points, he transferred those in. Another one of the things you need to check is go through each one of these classes and make sure that somebody in the middle of the year did not join a new class and not tell anybody in scoring, because their points by default will start carrying. But OCCRA has certain rules where they only get to carry the first 3 races unless it was approved by an officer or something like that. So look, Scotty Schmidt didn't get his points. But one of the things, the way that you can tell if somebody moved mid-year is by if they have all dots, all dot next to their scores, except for here at the end, that's I'm just kind of probably not checking the right classes here, but you can see, okay, like this person, they transferred in their work and 1 race. This person transferred in work in 2 races. But if it's somebody that moved themselves late in the season, you'll see a lot of dots all the way across. And you just need to make sure, first of all, that was authorized. And if it wasn't, you got to go in. You got to go into the sign up on that person. Yeah. And then you just say, let's see, you say edit, and then there's a don't carry points for this race. So you got to go back to the previous however many races, and all the ones where they shouldn't have got points for, you got to go in there and edit their sign up and say don't carry points for that race. So I don't know, I have a thing to check for that, but I haven't run it in a long time. It's not something we see very often, and it's usually kind of obvious. But yeah, I don't know where it's at, but anyway. So next thing.